Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to give a quick update on Jasmy, just because we've seen obviously Jasmy make a really nice move to the upside over the past week or so. And now recently we've seen a little bit of a pullback, and so I want to talk a little bit about, is it still more to come? Are we about to bounce? All that type of stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. And starting out looking at crypto bubbles, what we can see here is overall a red day on the market. We have seen several that have been doing really quite well over the past couple days, taking a little bit of a step back, and we are seeing a couple here doing relatively well on the day. BitGet's token has been doing really quite well. Crow seeing a little bit of a move to the upside, and then also we can see almost fully blocked by my picture here though is XRP up 9% on the day. So overall within the crypto market, a couple movers here and there, but overall, I mean the overall market looking at a down day. Again, not too bad overall, given that looking at the week and the month, we are seeing like pretty decent moves to the upside still. So overall, not too bad. We are seeing more and more volatility. That kind of the move of like straight up only is kind of past. I think from now on we'll probably see a general move to the upside, but we might see a lot of volatility to make sure that as many people as possible are getting liquidated on the way up. But that's kind of my expectation. If we do look at the fear and greed index, we can see where we are still in a point of extreme greed, even though we have been seeing a little bit more choppy price movement than what we have seen in the recent past. So if we do look, we can see basically ever since like the middle of October, we've been sitting in a state of greed or extreme greed. And so, things overall, I think looking pretty frothy. Obviously, we have seen Bitcoin price continue to just go up only basically, which obviously good news if you're a Bitcoin holder. But overall, I mean, the fact that we are in extreme greed means that things could be a little bit overbought. But again, if we go look at the RSI heat map, we will see that a lot of things kind of sitting in the neutral to weak territory. Overall, that's kind of how the market's looking. The further time frame we go out, the stronger things look, just because we had seen a whole bunch of moves to the upside on alts, and so we are seeing a recovery there. But things are essentially recovering back to neutral, some even dropping down into the weekend. Very few in the oversold, more in the strong to overbought range. We can actually see that Bitcoin is sitting in the overbought range on the 24-hour. So definitely, things looking, it's almost like a tale of two markets. Things looking good for Bitcoin, everything else looking kind of average to maybe weak, depending on kind of where we're at. Looking at Jasmy specifically, we can see something a little bit like this, right? Obviously, we've seen a really nice move to the upside, almost breaking that 6-cent range. We have come down, we've broken through this level of support that we were kind of bouncing around generally, at least recently. We have seen a little bit of that wick down. We had a trend line that we were following pretty well. We can see when we had that kind of mass liquidation event about a week back, we could see that we did wick down to it and then come very quickly back up. We can see right now we are kind of pushing into it right now. Whether we actually break through this trend line or not, again, it's hard to say. As I have talked about in the past, I've said that like it would not be outside the realm of reason to come down to this like 3.3 cent range. We still obviously have a little bit of a ways to go from there. It is possible that potentially we dip into like the 3.8, 3.7 cent range and then kind of bounce back up. But as I've said, it would not at all be unlikely if we were to kind of continue down to this 3.3 cent range and then maybe take another bounce from there. Overall, basically in all alts that we have seen, they really haven't had much of a meaningful pullback. I mean, we've maybe seen 10 to 20% from the top, but it does seem to me that overall anywhere between like 30 to 50% could be actually kind of a reasonable target for a lot of these different types of coins, depending on how they end up shaking out. So anyway, something to keep an eye on overall. This is something I'm definitely monitoring closely. We also are starting to see the Bollinger Bands start to squeeze in a little bit. In my opinion, this is a good thing. We do want to see these start to kind of consolidate a little bit more after we've had such a large move up. Again, if we can kind of hold in this like 4.8 to like 3.9 cent range, I would say that's a really good thing and something that we definitely should be taking a look out for. If you are interested in trading Jasmy, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything else for that matter, feel free to use my link in the description below to BTCC. I am partnered with them for an additional month. We can see they are still doing the 10% bonus on first time deposits, which is a fantastic deal. Really good deal if you are looking for a new place to trade anyway. You might as well get 10% free money. This is in addition to the extra bonuses up to $10,055 per user. So again, more reasons to get started there if you are interested. Also, they've been around for over 13 years, so they've been in crypto probably longer than most of us, which is a good thing to see, just because, you know, there are a lot of exchanges, particularly in the bull market, that will just kind of pop up because the money is good, and then they'll go away, you know, kind of immediately after. And so also they've got 300 plus crypto futures and up to 500x leverage. Again, I would strongly discourage using this type of leverage. In my opinion, this is a fantastic way to get liquidated and lose all your money. It is there though if you have some random strategy that I might not be aware of, but overall this is something that I would not at all recommend. I think anything kind of above 20x leverage you need to be very, very, very careful with. Even up to like the 10 to 20 range, like you probably should not be doing it unless you understand what you're doing really quite well. So that's also something to keep in mind. Also, no VPN or KYC necessary if this is something that's important to you. So one last thing I want to take a look at though is we are starting to see some more macroeconomic things that are looking more and more, I guess you could say, scary, right? And so we can see this is the China 10-year yield. We can see over the past year it's gone from like 2.65 now to 1.728, particularly recently, really, really collapsing. This is in basically from like the US election till now. Definitely not great news from what we're seeing in China. I think some of this might be because of tariffs, because that is going to hurt the Chinese economy that is already sitting in a relatively precarious situation. So this could be, you know, something that's very, very, very bad for the Chinese government, economy, and all that type of stuff overall. So I think we should kind of keep an eye on this, see how things kind of unfold. Overall, we do need to keep in mind that the overall kind of global like monetary system, I would say, is sitting in a relatively precarious situation, particularly when threatened by something like Bitcoin that is, it's hard money. It can't be inflated away into infinity like basically every other modern currency can. There's a lot of, like, I'd say like external pressure on a lot of these global currencies, particularly because most of the world is in a pretty major debt crisis to begin with anyway. China being really, really bad. Obviously the US, that's been kind of a recurring issue over the past, I don't know, 20 years at this point. But the US is finally getting to a point, at least in my opinion, where, you know, things are getting more and more unsustainable by the year. And the longer it goes, the more likely it is that there's actually no other way out of it than just kind of printing your way out of it, which is never a good thing if you have any reasonable amount of that money. The reason why this is important is because if we are playing in altcoins particularly, you know, Bitcoin is going to be, I would say, Bitcoin, of course, will be affected by all of this because, you know, macroeconomics impacts kind of everything. But the reason I bring this up is because this will impact altcoins far more than anything else. And so if we see something like the yields that we're seeing out of the Chinese, bond market, and we also are starting to see more of the global economy start to be shaky and potentially crash, all this type of stuff, this will absolutely decimate most cryptos in the industry. So you do just need to make sure that you're being very, very careful and keeping apprised of what's going on here. I do think at this point in time, there is still a world in which we see a very, very, very strong crypto bull run come out of this. But I will say on the back end of it, things may look pretty rough, just kind of how the global economic situation is looking currently, particularly out of China. There are some others that are showing a little bit of weakness as well. But overall, I would say the biggest thing to be aware of is just make sure that you're staying positioned accordingly. If you have 100% of your net worth in crypto, again, now financial advice, you need to make your own decision. In my opinion, it's not good to be too highly concentrated in any asset at all. I don't care what it is. I mean, even if you were in US equities, it's still not a good idea in my opinion. I think having a well-diversified portfolio is really, really important. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe because it really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, just feel free to drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.